Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up Doc isn't just a title, it's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for, it's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man
is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement. If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break a balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have 2. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
let's go to the last part.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
WESN.
Good morning and welcome to AM Prime on WESN. I am Takia Thompson, your host for our Motivational Monday show. As we begin a new week, it's always good to start off and reset and refocus our energy. With that, we begin with our morning boost. As the famous actor Denzel Washington once said, small steps today leads to big wins tomorrow. Commitment is important, so too is consistency.
Without commitment, you'll never start, but more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship.
And on that note, we move on to our mindset aspects segment. See, many of us struggle with staying disciplined and often find ourselves putting things off. So what does it really take to build better habits and overcome procrastination? This morning, we speak with therapist Sharon Bermudez about practical ways to strengthen discipline and stay on track. Good morning, Ms. Sharon.
Good morning, Takia. How are you today?
I'm good, and you?
I'm well, thank you very much. It's early in the morning, but I'm here.
Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. So let's start off with, the basic understanding of what procrastination is and why so many people struggle with it.
Well, procrastination basically means that you make an intentional decision to push off doing something. Some tasks it could be for any number of reasons. It could be that you feel overwhelmed at the task that is in front of you. It could be a task that you find particularly boring, so you don't really want to do that. It could be just that you're a perfectionist and that you would like it to be done in an exact way, and because you don't think you can reach there, you delay doing it. But in essence, procrastination just means that you are delaying engaging in the task, even though you may know that it will have some sort of negative consequence somewhere down the line.
And would you say procrastination is it something more psychological when dealing with it?
It is. One of the things that they have found is that procrastination is linked with emotional regulation. So emotional regulation just basically means what we do to regulate our emotions. We could have positive emotions, those are the feel-good emotions, and then we could have negative emotions. Those are the not feel-good emotions. Those are the emotions that you don't want to have, like anxiety or anger or sadness or something like that. So when we engage in emotional regulation, we are essentially trying to find a way to kind of dial down those negative emotions. And just because something is a coping mechanism, it doesn't mean that it's positive, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways that we cope that are negative, like overeating or drinking or smoking. Procrastination is one way that people cope with their emotions related to the task, is just by pushing it off. So that is a strong psychological component.
Yeah. And you touched on it a bit, but what would you say are some of the common triggers that can cause persons to delay their task, as you mentioned?
Well, I think it can vary from person to person, right? I don't think one size fits all. So there's something called a problem maintenance structure. A problem maintenance structure is essentially what is holding the problem in place. Somebody could be showing exactly the same symptom or the same issue, but what holds that problem in place is totally different according to person. And so procrastination doesn't have one reason why we procrastinate. It has my reason why I procrastinate. So some of the ones that I listed are some of the more common ones. Anxiety, fear of failure, somebody be feeling overwhelmed, somebody being understimulated by a particular task, somebody just being a perfectionist, and therefore you ever sit down to write a paper and you can't write because you're so into the end result and what you want to achieve that you can't put down the first word because you're afraid that it's going to throw everything off. Those are some of the reasons. But I would say to people, if you are trying to understand why you procrastinate, look back on those instances in your history where you have procrastinated and look for the common thread. And that would give you a clear idea of the reason that is specific to you.
So you began touching on it a bit, so I'm just going to ask you to expand. What are some of the practical steps that persons can take to overcome procrastination? And then can you recommend, daily habits or routines that persons can adapt to help with it also?
Well, the reason why I talked about problem maintenance structure is that is actually very important. Depending on what's holding the problem in place, the step that you take will be different, right?
Yes.
If it is that I'm procrastinating because this is a task that I find very tedious and boring. So for example, I'm a counselor. Counselors write lots of notes. And note-taking is one of the least favorite things about my job because it has me going back into a particular mindset, and it can be very detailed.
Yes.
If I know that is what is holding my procrastination in place, then now the strategy that I employ will match that. So for example, I may set the task first in the day when I have the most energy, because it's the thing that is least engaging to me. It's the one that is going to be most difficult. So I put it where I have the most energy.
Okay.
Maybe what I will do is I will break it up a little bit. I may say, okay, let me write 3 or 4 notes, and then I will introduce something else in between, and then I'll come back and do another 3 or 4 notes. However, if the reason why I am procrastinating is I'm a perfectionist, then that involves some recognition that perfectionism is actually a thinking trap, because nobody can be perfect. So when you set your goal at perfection, you are actually setting it at a goal that is impossible to achieve, and you will always prove that you cannot achieve it. You will always show that you are incompetent to achieve the goal, because nobody can achieve it. So if the reason is because of my perfectionism, then that involves me doing some introspection and doing some stuff to kind of push back on this idea that I can be a perfectionist. If the issue is that I just feel completely overwhelmed, then it may be that I need to break down the task, because I am building it up too big. I'm looking at the end result, and I'm not looking at the steps to be able to get there. And so that's where I love the quote from Denzel Washington, because that means that we can now chunk it up into smaller steps. And I can focus on achieving one step at a time towards achieving the final goal.
And just like you mentioned, having to go around, building discipline and staying on track, it's important to stay consistent, but can you give us some tips on how to remain consistent, or how to build those step by step, just to know that you're doing it?
Well, honestly, the best rule of thumb is just do it. Nike got it right. Just do it. The psychological building blocks are our thoughts and our feelings and our behavior. We have no control over how we feel. So when I feel overwhelmed, when I feel anxious, when I feel scared, whatever is the feeling that might be holding that procrastination in place, there's not much I can do to shift that area. We have some control over our thoughts. So I can find myself going down a particular thinking track and recognize that that's not necessarily a helpful track for me. And I could find a way to be able to reframe the issue that is going to be more helpful and allow me to be able to take particular behavior. But we have almost complete control over our behavior, which is just a decision just to do it. So that one thing that you are procrastinating on, so my big pile of notes that is on my desk right now is a decision. Can I just start? And you could do this in like a fun way. You could make a personal challenge for yourself for this area, right? I'm going to do a 30-day challenge. I'm going to do a 50-day challenge. I'm going to do a 60-day challenge, where I am just saying, for that time, I am going to engage in this small act towards achieving the goal that I wanted to do. Now, psychology, neuropsychology recognizes that the brain has amazing capacity for change, right? So we have this area called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is all about, there's a lot of biology that my mind cannot wrap itself around, right? But what it basically boils down to is that the neural pathways in our brain have the capacity to be vacated, and we can create new neural pathways. And what creates new neural pathways is engaging the behavior over and over and over again. So if I set myself a task for every day, put myself on a challenge, and I do that task every day, then what is going to happen is that the neural pathway for that particular task is going to get better. It's going to get stronger. And the opposite neural pathway that I've been using all of the time is actually going to get weaker. Then the other thing that is going to happen, one of the reasons why I'm not doing the task is just that I do not feel confident. For some people, that's the issue. I don't feel confident. I don't think that I'm capable of doing it. That might be causing my overwhelm.
Right.
However, when I do it over and over again, that builds up what we call self-efficacy, which is basically my confidence that I'm capable of doing this task because I did it once. Oh, I did it once, so I can do it again. I did it again. Oh, I can do it again. By the time you are finished with that challenge, you have built up your confidence that you are able to engage in that task. So those are some of the tips that I would give. But at the beginning of that tip is that action, it's as far as a decision. Today, I am going to do this thing, even if it is a small part of it, and I'm just going to keep on doing it until I feel more confident.
So how much would you say phones or social media contribute to procrastination?
Oh, well, absolutely social media and forums and anything that is a distraction activity contributes to procrastination. Because remember, with procrastination, you are intentionally pushing off, right? You don't want to start this for whatever reason. And so when you find something that distracts you, it allows you to kind of go down the rabbit hole and move away from the task. Now, with social media, you will have the added burden of it's genuinely addictive. Once you go on to it, you have some serotonin pushing out into your system, and there's a term that they use for it, to doom scrolling. You may intend in your brain to I'm just going to spend 5 minutes here, and 5 hours later, you're wondering what happened with the time. Well, how come I've been here so long? So social media may have that additional burden compared to other distraction activities, but anything which pulls your attention away and enables you to procrastinate is going to influence procrastination.
And before we, as we begin to wrap up, what if someone falls off track? What do they do then?
Start back. I know that sounds really simplistic, but start back. Now, Alcoholics Anonymous has a term that they use about the slippery slope. You do everything that you can to avoid the slippery slope, because when you go onto the slippery slope, obviously what is going to happen is that you are going to slip and fall to the bottom. And people tend to wait until they fall to the very, very bottom to start back the trek upwards. But you don't need to do that. You don't need to go to the absolute bottom and then start walking all the way back up. If anybody has ever been into hiking, sometimes you lose your footing.
Yes.
You definitely don't want to get to the bottom of the slope. You lose your footing and you slip. Then hopefully you relocate yourself to a safer spot and you start back the journey upwards. Again, the neural pathways, they don't get vacated by a small slip, right? If you continue to persistently slip, so let us say there's a particular action you have been engaging for the past year, and you have a really nice, well-developed neural pathway for that behavior. Let us say it is exercise.
Yeah.
And for some reason, you slipped out of the exercise and you have not been exercising for the past 2 months or 3 months. While that is going to make the neural pathway more shallow, it's not going to get rid of it. So if I just start back, then I begin to reverse the action, reverse the damage that comes from my slip. Again, if there's one takeaway that I want people to have, is that Nike got it right. That's a very clever slogan that they came up with. Just do it. Don't outthink yourself. Don't out-emotion yourself. Don't tell yourself that you can't do it. You can readjust goals, because sometimes the problem is that we set our goals too high, and they become unattainable, and then that makes us very demotivated. If that happens, just readjust the goal until it reaches the level where you feel comfortable with, and attack that goal. And when you have achieved it, move it a little higher, and then a little higher, and then a little higher. That is eventually going to get you to exactly where you want to be.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for sharing those practical and encouraging insights. And you just have to say it again. What is the one takeaway that you'd like viewers to leave this morning with to help with that procrastination and just to, you know, keep that reminder to themselves and in their routines that they might make?
You don't climb a staircase by jumping to the top. You take it one step at a time. So the little steps count, and just do it. Don't look at where you want to go, or at least don't be fixated on where you want to go. You have your vision for it, but then climb the little steps that will get you to that point.
Thank you so much again, Sharon, for sharing those insightfuls. It's definitely something that we can apply to our daily lives and daily routines. And with that, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we have more engaging conversations, so don't go far.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond
wanna-
to me.
respond
Respond to
to
me.
you?
How you would respond to me?
The first question I would ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year, early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor Jay and Ren.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title. It's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fanzone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Welcome back to AM Prime. And as we continue, with the cost of living on the rise, many households are feeling the pressure to make every dollar count. In this segment of The Financial Focus, we discuss the challenges and how we can budget in an increasing cost of living climate. As the cost of living continues to rise, managing your finances is of utmost importance. Economist Dr. Rebecca Gukul-Bosland joins us for this discussion this morning. Good morning, Dr. Rebecca.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I am all right, and how are you?
I'm good, thank you for asking. So let's dive right into understanding what contributes to the rising cost of living in our country.
Sure. So it's important for us to understand what is the cost of living. So the cost of living entails all of the expenses that are associated with operations, with doing our daily tasks, basically life and living. So what are those costs? So in general, for example, we consider food, we consider housing, we consider transportation. Those aspects of cost go into the cost of living conversation. So when you have those types of expenses going up, then it implies that the cost of living on average is going up. And that's what we've been seeing.
Yes. And how is inflation affecting everyday's budgeting for ordinary citizens?
Sure. So inflation is an index that tells us on average how prices are increasing. If prices are increasing, then inflation is going up. When we know and when we see higher prices, that tells us that our income, for example, can buy less. So on average and in an immediate way, inflation lowers the real value of the money that we have in our pocket. And that makes budgeting a little ticklish, but it also makes budgeting at the household level, at the individual level, very, very important.
And what sectors would you say are seeing the biggest prices increase? Because you mentioned food, housing, transportation before. So what would you say are seeing the biggest price increase?
Definitely. So food for sure, we are seeing high and rising food prices, and that of course is as a result of supply issues, logistics issues, import issues that Trinidad and Tobago faces, we are and we have been seeing increases in transportation cost over time, as well as housing. And for the average citizen, those are the aspects of expenditure that take up the bulk of our income. And in an environment where those expenses are increasing, it makes budgeting really important for the household and for the individual.
And would you say that wages are being kept up to date with the rising costs that are happening right now?
That's a very, very loaded question, darling. I would say that there is a short answer to that, and it is that nominal wages are not necessarily up to date with the way that the prices locally are going. So that's the short answer. That's the short answer for that.
Okay, thank you for that. What are some factors someone should take into account when creating or adjusting a budget?
Okay, so at the individual level, I would say in its simplest form, understand the amount of income that you have coming in and also your expenditure profile. That is in a very basic, rudimentary way, how we budget.
Yeah.
It may not be possible in the short run to adjust your income level, but what is important is to take a really detailed look at your expenditure profile. There are some aspects of expenditure that you can maybe adjust, maybe reduce, and that makes the comfort of the budgeting process at the individual level a little bit more reflective of what's going on in the national environment. So taking a detailed look at your revenue, that may not be able to be changed in the short run, but in the medium to long term, you can look at ways to change or increase or augment that revenue level.
Yeah.
But really, it comes down to those things that we can control. That is our expenditure and looking at the aspects of expenditure that can be adjusted in the short run, in the medium term, in the long term.
So you started touching on it a bit, so I'm just going to ask you to expand, where can persons realistically cut back without sacrificing too much? And then are there common expenses that persons may overlook that can be reduced?
Sure. And this type of conversation, of course, is a general one because we know that our discretionary income at the national level is falling, or it's very it's meager.
Yeah.
So some of the examples of adjusting your expenditure now can be, for example, reducing food waste, reducing the fuel leakage within our households. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. How many of us, when walking out of a room, for example, takes the light off? And those simple habits add up, and it shows up in our expenditure bills and expenditure profiles over time. What proportion of the market you buy on a Sunday morning goes to waste at the end of the week? Paying attention to those things that are immediate helps us to streamline our expenditures. And again, as I said, these things add up over time to improve our budgeting. So those are just two top of the head examples that we can begin to implement immediately in terms of understanding and bettering our expenditure profile.
Thank you for sharing that. And what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes persons make when trying to budget during tough times?
some of the examples I would say is one, using debt unwisely. So in general, I would advise that persons use debt, and that means loans or credit cards, those kinds of debt, for purposes of generating income rather than buffering or increasing consumption. So, for example, you may want to take a loan, but taking a loan for maybe a taxi or maybe an extra oven in your kitchen can help you to generate income over time if it is that you use the asset, for example, as an income earning asset. So I would advise in tough times that persons manage the way that they engage debt, being focused on using that debt as income generating rather than a consumption buffer.
So you've touched on it, but you know the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And you know that ties back into being able to just manage debt responsibly. Can you break down that saying for us?
Sure. So it really comes down to spreading your risk. So in the short run, as I highlighted a few minutes ago, it might be very difficult to adjust your income, but in the short term, that of course is constrained by where you are now, your ability to maybe generate a side hustle, those kinds of things. But in the medium term, if you sit and observe the environment, you can begin to identify opportunities for you to improve your income earning streams. So that in spreading your risk over time, what you can benefit from is maybe starting a little bakery in your home, making an extra loaf of bread, selling it to your neighbor, making an extra dinner, selling it to maybe some family members, understanding that your income is constrained immediately, and identifying other ways that you can generate an income can help you to spread that risk, and therefore your dependence on a singular source of income can change over time.
And would you agree that saving is still realistic for the average person today?
It's not just realistic, it is important. No matter how small that buffer is, it is imperative that we consider the incidence of a rainy day, the incidence of emergencies, and each of us may have predictable but infrequent expenses like school fees or insurance for the vehicle. Those kinds of expenses we are generally sure when the cycle is going to come up, and putting aside small amounts over time can actually help to ensure that those predictable expenses are covered for our households.
And you answered it before, but how can families, better plan for long-term financial stability?
It comes down to having a plan, of course, and understanding where we want to be in a year time, in 5 years time, and ensuring that all of the persons at the household or familiar level are working towards that plan. But of course, it's important for us to have a target to ascribe to. So being able to talk about that at the family level and set out the various steps, set out the various activities that are needed. We may have to come together, for example, and say as a family, if we want to have a certain kind of vacation, for example, what might be needed, what are expenses that we can defer in order to reallocate those resources to something that we would want to be. So again, it comes down to planning, it comes down to having those conversations within the household and building out activities, building out your expenditure profile along those lines.
Now, you mentioned, having a plan. So would this fall into developing budgeting habits to stay on track?
Yes. I always say you can't manage what you don't measure. And it therefore means once you have set out some goals for yourself, whether that is reducing expenditure or looking for other sources of income, you have to continually check. So for example, let's take expenditure as an example. We have to ensure that our activities on a regular basis align with the goals that we have. So we may want to do not just a monthly budget, but our bi-weekly budgets and check to ensure that we are sticking to what we've decided.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to a young person that's just starting their financial journey?
Financial literacy is important. Understanding, for example, how taxation works, understanding how budgeting works is very important. And of course, that coincides with where they are in life. Budgeting is a part of every person's life, down to the child who may have an allowance. You start talking to children, you start talking to these young people about those principles of budgeting very, very early on. So as a young person, we need to understand that financial literacy is important. Being able to make informed financial decisions is critical in being a well-adapted adult. But that must be taught, understanding debt, understanding how we generate income, understanding what value is. Those are some of the conversations that we need to keep having with young persons.
And conversations like this in general, would you say that it can impact or even improve the average household in Trinidad and Tobago?
I think it will. But I think it needs to be practiced in the sense that those conversations need to be reiterative. We need to be able to track that behaviors are changing. And once those things are put in place, definitely I expect to see, and I'm hoping to see that there will be improvement in terms of our response to the changes in the environment.
Any final words that you'd like to leave with the viewers on this particular topic?
Sure, just one really, and that is a warning to be wary as to how debt is used in these times. Choose debt options that build up your income earning capacity over time rather than worsen your future income flows. So basically, just be really wise about that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rebecca, for those valuable insights. And I really hope that we take this information and apply it to how we move in these times that we're in. So guys, we're about to take another short break. And when we come back, we do have one more engaging conversation that you don't want to miss out on. So don't go far.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. coming from an expert.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title. It's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital.
How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that. I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement. If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of this game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
This is 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region.
Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Now you don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
They believe in different criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond
wanna
to me. Respond to me. How you would respond to me?
The first question I'll ask is why.
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
I'm Sean Michael Small, and we are WESN, the Content Capital.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person
but to the detriment of yourself? What are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God. So we kind of at a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's been the victim,
right,
or the man has been the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The home of Caribbean content is growing and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Hi, I am Emiliana Beechan and I am a mental health and conflict resolution consultant. Welcome to Mind Matters, the show where we explore the intricate world of mental health and the art of conflict resolution. Join us as we hear from mental health professionals, conflict resolution experts, and everyday people who have transformed their lives through understanding and communication. Mind Matters, WESN Content Capital.
Are you driven, ambitious, and ready to earn? WESN, the Content Capital, is expanding, and we're looking for dynamic media sales executives to join our team. Sell powerful advertising solutions across television, digital, and social media platforms, and help brands tell their story. If you have strong communication skills, a passion for sales, and the drive to succeed, join WESN today. Send your CV to marketing@wesncc.com or WhatsApp 68-61662 and start building your future.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title, it's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of this game.
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region.
Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
It is now you don't need to register nothing. You don't need. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept,
but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond
wanna
to me. Respond to me. How you would respond to me?
The first question I would ask is why.
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
I'm Sean Michael Small, and we are WESN, the Content Capital. We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug.
You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe. Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Are you driven, ambitious, and ready to earn? WESN, the content capital, is expanding, and we're looking for dynamic media sales executives to join our team. Sell powerful advertising solutions across television, digital, and social media platforms, and help brands tell their story. If you have strong communication skills, a passion for sales, and the drive to succeed, join WESN today. Send your CV to marketing@wsncc.com or WhatsApp 6861662 and start building your future.
Welcome back, and we're going to touch a bit on some international news. Now, in today's world, we're constantly reminded of how quickly things can change. And with that, 4 astronauts who flew in NASA's Artemis 2 mission around the moon have been welcomed back. Take a look at this clip.
At 6:35 p.m. local time on April 1st, 2026, NASA's Space Launch System rocket lifted off from the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida, marking the first time that a crew of people has departed the Earth to visit our moon in over 53 years. The launch itself went about as smoothly as these things get. There was one brief and minor concern in the minutes leading up to the scheduled launch time. Ground crews were a little concerned about readings from the flight termination system, what they call the FTS. It's basically a string of explosives that are rigged up to the main fuel tank of the rocket, and they act as a self-destruct mechanism if the booster was to ever lose control for any reason as it flies through the air. So the crew would abort and their capsule would fly away, then the entire rocket would explode before it posed any risk of falling on people. So it's the kind of system that you hope not to use, but you definitely want it to work properly if the need ever comes up. That little bit of chatter around the FTS delayed the launch by just a few minutes from the opening of the flight window at 6:24 p.m. But the issue was quickly resolved when the ground crew realized that they just had a faulty sensor reading and the system itself was actually working just fine. This came as a pleasant surprise to anyone who had been following the troubled journey of NASA's most powerful rocket, the SLS, probably best known for being over budget and behind schedule. This particular stack had given NASA problems earlier in the year when it started leaking hydrogen during a system test in February. Then after that was fixed, it started leaking helium a few days later and identified craters on the surface. And this is kind of the emotional heart of the entire mission. One of those new craters was proposed to be named Integrity to commemorate this mission and the vehicle that carried them there. The second is a bright spot crater that lies right on the boundary between the near and far side. This one was proposed to be named Carol, after Reed Wiseman's late wife who passed away in 2020. Those bright spots were one of the first really interesting observations made by the crew. These fresh impacts kick up light-colored dust from just below the surface and stand out against the dull gray of the moon. Christina Cook noted that these are so bright they kind of look like holes poked in a map shade. And this is the kind of observation that is so important from Artemis 2. Even with a really great digital camera, there is still a lot of nuance that only the human eye can see. Our eyes perceive a much greater dynamic range between dark and bright than any camera sensor. And we also see a lot more color. Here's an illustration of that. The big curving shape is the entire visible color spectrum, and that triangle inside is the small fraction that can fit into a digital image. So while the photographs still have incredible value, the most unique data from Artemis 2 is the first-person accounts of the astronauts as they describe what they see on the moon with their own eyes. For example, the crew noted that the moon is not actually as gray as it appears from Earth. They saw distinct hues of brown and even a faint green in some of the impact crater regions. Entry into the Earth's atmosphere is a complicated maneuver. The capsule has to hit at just the right angle to cut through. If it comes in too shallow, then it'll actually bounce off and go flying back up into space. If the angle is too steep, then the capsule builds up too much resistance too fast and overheats. So NASA takes a lot of care with guiding Integrity in for its final descent. This is done using maneuvering thrusters on the service module. Now, once everything is lined up for re-entry, a lot of stuff begins to happen in a relatively short time. About 20 minutes before reaching the atmosphere, pyrotechnic charges fire and separate the Integrity capsule from the service module. The crew doesn't need it anymore, and the service module will safely burn up as it re-enters. Once separated, the Integrity capsule fires up its own maneuvering thrusters to perform a flip and gets its heat shield pointing down into the direction of travel. As the capsule falls down through the upper atmosphere, the Earth's gravity begins to pull harder, and it accelerates to a top speed of about 32 times the speed of sound. At this velocity, the capsule begins slamming into the first air molecules, which are still very thin at this altitude, but there's enough atmosphere to begin the heating process. As we see the first sign of flames begin to light up outside the capsule window, communications with the crew go dead. The energy from the spacecraft compresses the molecules in the atmosphere so violently that they explode into a state of matter called plasma. Not only is this plasma super hot, between 4,000 and 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's also so energized that it begins to conduct electricity. The electric charge is what disrupts communications between the crew and the ground team. It's like flying inside a lightning storm. This continues for 6 whole minutes until wind resistance has slowed the capsule down enough that it's no longer creating a plasma field. That force of deceleration has an effect of about 4G on the astronauts inside, the equivalent of about 4 times Earth's gravity. And this is the point where NASA regains communication with Integrity, and the world is relieved to hear that all is well with the crew on board. From here, it's a few more minutes of free-falling as the first cameras begin to track Integrity on its descent. At an altitude of around 5,000 feet, the main parachutes finally deploy, and the capsule slows down to a gentle 19 miles per hour for the final coast phase. It's 5:07 p.m. local time off the coast of San Diego, California, when Integrity makes their official splashdown into the Pacific Ocean, completing a 10-day journey that covered a total of 695,081 miles from the Earth to the Moon and back again. Once they are floating in the water, the capsule deploys 5 red helium balloons from the nose. Those are just to make sure it doesn't tip over. although conditions on landing are pretty calm, at least as far as the Pacific Ocean goes, with waves peaking at about 4 feet high. There's only one minor issue post-splashdown, and that's with the communications between the astronauts and their recovery crew. Commander Reed Wiseman reports that he can hear the rescuers, but they can't hear him. So that results in a little bit of a delay, with recovery boats just circling around the capsule and waiting for instructions. But eventually, the first boat moves in and they open the hatch on the capsule from the outside, giving our crew their first breath of fresh, non-recycled air since last Wednesday afternoon. 4 Navy officers from the recovery boat hop into the capsule and begin to assess each astronaut, help them with getting out of their harness and space helmet and getting set for the main recovery operation. They attach a big inflatable raft to the capsule underneath the open hatch that's nicknamed the front porch, and one by one, the crew leave their capsule and drop onto the porch where they wait for a line to come down from a recovery helicopter. There are 2 choppers running 1 astronaut at a time, picking them up from the porch and dropping them onto the deck of a Navy ship waiting nearby. From there, they go straight down to the ship's medical bay for a full examination. All signs throughout the landing and recovery operation pointed to all 4 astronauts being in good health, but they will continue to be monitored out of an abundance of caution. And that concludes the most important human spaceflight mission of the 21st century, the first crewed moon.
Quite an interesting story, and it's definitely one that leaves you thinking and opens perspectives. As we shift gears and continues on the show, we turn our attention to our final segment, What's Happening? Nurses across the country have been taking part in protest actions demanding improved salaries, better working conditions, and the resolution of long outstanding payments, highlighted by a recent reduction in overtime rates. This comes after the government failed to deliver on previously discussed wage increases. President of the Nurses Association, Edie Stewart, joins us to discuss this matter. Good morning, Mr. Stewart.
Pleasant morning to you and your viewers. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So we're going to go right into it. On Friday, nurses gathered in Port-of-Spain for its largest protest while Parliament was taking place. During Parliament, Health Minister Dr. Lakram Bodo said there is no healthcare crisis in the country amid all that was happening. What was or still is your reaction to the minister's statement?
Well, first to begin, we would have hoped the question to the minister would have been slightly different. It really had to do with what we have been trying to elicit from the Minister of Health and the Minister of Finance, and by extension the Prime Minister, is when healthcare workers would receive a salary increase. That is really what we are trying to obtain, trying to ascertain. And to date, we have not been able to get that information. When we would receive a salary increase, and then when and what it would take for us to receive that salary increase. What would it take? Now, the question that was asked by the opposition that elicited the Minister of Health response, indeed, the association is not pleased with it. Indeed, the healthcare workers, and I'm not speaking only on nursing and midwifery personnel behalf, it is really an entire health sector. Everyone who is working under the Regional Health Authority is really confused as to why the minister would respond in that manner, knowing what we know, knowing what is going on the ground. That he would make that statement that certainly has further inflamed the emotions of healthcare workers. So definitely we are not pleased with the response, and we are not pleased with the continued silence as to why healthcare workers have not received a salary increase, even though public servants have already received their salary increase. Yeah.
And since then, has there been any communication between the Health Ministry and the Nurses Association? And how has that been like?
There has been absolutely no communication, unfortunately. The association has been writing constantly to the Ministry of Health, and other ministries on this very matter. And other than the bland acknowledgement that they have received the correspondence, there has been no further correspondences. I myself have reached out to the Minister of Health, Dr. Lakram Bodo, via WhatsApp, and still no response. So it's really so sad that, prior to the elections, prior to the government coming in, prior to the Dr. Lakram Bodo coming into office, we had an open relationship. We would message each other constantly on different issues. And now that he's in government, all that communication has now ceased.
And aside from salary negotiations and better working conditions, what are some of the other challenges nurses are facing currently?
Well, the number one challenge right now, there are many challenges, but if I were to itemize the top 3 challenges, one, the Nursing Association and healthcare workers, particularly in NCRHA, would want the removal of Dr. Tim Gopi Singh as chairman. He has really caused real confusion within that particular regional health authority, and the healthcare workers within that institution is really up in arms. And for the benefit of the patients who have to seek treatment within the facilities under the purview of the NCRHA, it would be good if the Prime Minister hears their cries and remove him as chairman. Secondly, there's a issue with resources that healthcare workers have to rely on, particularly nursing and midwifery personnel. There's a constant shortage throughout a number of the RHAs, but particularly again in the NCRHA. So we would want that to be addressed. And then thirdly, we would want, besides the whole salary compensation issue, where we continue to work on 2013 salaries, one of the few state entities who still continue to work on 2013 salaries in 2026. We would want nursing and midwifery personnel to begin accepting or to be offered overtime rates when we work extra duty. Currently, we are being paid either by time back or via pool, a flat pool rate. And we are saying, no, that cannot go on any further, particularly in light of the allegations made by some members in the public and RHAs that there is some corruption with pool and all of that. Well, then we will no longer work pool, and we deserve to be paid overtime rates as everyone else within the healthcare sector gets. We deserve to be paid the same overtime rates because you fully well know the institution is short-staffed. It doesn't have enough nursing and midwifery personnel. So persons constantly have to work extra duty, and we deserve overtime rates as everyone gets. Yeah.
And with Friday's protests, were there any service disruptions across hospitals and healthcare facilities that would have affected patient care or resulted in staff shortages?
While it was not the plan for the association, again, this is the 3rd demonstration we have held, certainly one of the largest demonstrations. But all the Nursing Association's demonstrations have been during the lunch hour of nursing and midwifery personnel. And so as we continue to drive home our concerns, but trying to mitigate the fallout. Unfortunately, we understand that there was significant disruptions across Trinidad, particularly not so much in Tobago, but across Trinidad. A number of clinics, a number of services, a number of surgeries were postponed. So yes, there was wide disruption. Again, it was not envisioned, it was not planned by the association, but it appears that persons took it upon themselves to really drive home the point. And we sympathize and we empathize with their ongoing frustration, which really boils down to these 2013 salaries. So yes, there was.
Yeah. And what happens next if these concerns are not addressed?
Well, the association is planning a special general meeting with our membership to bring them up to speed. What has been the development? Has there been any progress? To date, we have not seen any movement by the government. It appears the government is willing to continue allowing healthcare workers, nursing and midwifery personnel to remain on 2013 salaries. The membership and even other groups within healthcare sector are planning their own actions going forward. But with the association, we will be rolling out what we envision to really bring home the point to the Honorable Minister that yes, indeed, there are issues to treat with. Yeah. So yes, there would be protests in the not too distant future, in addition to other actions that we envision will drive home the points that we are attempting to raise with the government. Yeah.
And what message would you like to send or share with the viewers looking on and the public about the situation that's happening?
Well, simply, we want to reiterate there's a lot of misinformation in the public domain. All the Trinidad and Tobago National Nursing Association is asking for is one simple thing. And now two simple requests. One is when healthcare workers will receive a salary increase. When? Is it next week? Is it next month? Is it 2 months from now? Is it 3 months from now? Is it after the budget? We just want to know when. And then secondly, what would it take for the government to complete that exercise? What would it take? Would it take protests? Would it take a complete shutdown of the healthcare system? Would it take what it would take? We really would want to know. So we can ensure that that is completed and the government will take healthcare workers seriously. Yeah, what would it take?
Thank you so much for sharing on that. Any final words you'd like to leave with the viewers, even to the government and ministers looking on? What would you like to tell them this morning?
Well, really, we would want to speak to members of the public. It appears that the government is really has closed their ears. They are not willing to listen. They are not showing any empathy to healthcare workers, and certainly they are not showing any empathy to patients who have to access services at these facilities and are being negatively affected. And we at the association want to empathize with the members of the public during this time. And yes, there would be continued action going forward. Yes, it may result in some inconvenience to the public, but we hope the public can understand that at some point, workers, like everyone else in society, deserve a salary increase at some point. And 13-year-old salaries that nursing and midwifery personnel continue to work on is really unacceptable by any stretch of the imagination. I think we have been, very patient over the years. No one, I think 13 years is showing more than enough patience. So I think really and truly, I hope the patients understand that, look, it's time to pay those nurses, time to pay those doctors, time to pay those social workers, time to pay those attendants, escorts. It's time to pay them, yeah? And the inconvenience that they are facing, hopefully the government would make some statement and resolve some of these issues in a timely manner. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stewart, for shedding light on the important issues and for the work you continue to do on behalf of the nurses across the country. This is an issue that is ongoing, so we really do hope that we can follow up with better news for next time. As we wrap up today's AM Prime show, we hope today's conversations have informed, empowered, and encouraged you. From building discipline to managing finances and staying aware of national issues. It all plays a role in how we move forward. And this doesn't affect us just as a collective, but individually as well, and society. I'm Takia Thompson, your host for AM Prime, and as I say, stay informed, stay encouraged, stay positive. Up next, we do have Sean Michael Small at 8, so don't go far, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye.
WESN.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios, but they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks.